Hey, thinkers, we are going global today. And why not? We live in a global economy during a global pandemic. And while we probably can't solve those challenges on this show, we can address brand transformation on a global level. And the challenges, what it takes from a planning standpoint and an execution standpoint to get it right. My guest today is Paz Macdonald, CMO of Software AG, and Paz is all the way in London talking with us today. Paz, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Drew. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, yes, and we've got a time change, but we are just here doing it. You've had some great experiences working at IBM, HP, MongoDB before getting to Software AG. What attracted you to this position?
Okay, so thank you. A great question. Why Software AG? So I'd come from a startup, which I was there for 7 years. Very, very early stage, and through to the IPO and beyond. So why Software AG when I could have done another startup? Software AG because purely it's going through a massive transformation. This is a 50-year-old brand, hence a very old name. Software 50 years ago was a very, very cool thing to have in your kind of brand name. And, the company hasn't been growing. It's got a great reputation. We're a leader in Gartner Magic Quadrants of Forrester Waves. However, it was time to kind of like really take the level up and really start growing this organization. So we've got a new leadership team, new CEO, and he's very focused on growth. So that's what attracted me, was this new challenge.
So so this is January 2019, and you've got a company that, as you said, is 50 years old. And what's hard is a company like that. I'm imagining that it was a very engineering driven company, that the people who wrote the code and wrote the product, they're the founders of the organization. They're the ones who created the culture. When you took over, first of all, was that true? That was sort of that, I just, made that assumption, but
Yes, very, very true. But I'm used to that. MongoDB, same thing. Product is created by the founders, very engineering led. So yeah, very, very engineering led, very product focused, features, functions.
So you have a new CEO, and what was your mandate? What did he say? Okay, success. Here's the story. This is what I want you to do.
Here's very, very clear. We need to be a data-driven marketing organization. He wanted us to be globally recognized. It's true that we do have a very poor brand awareness of who we are and what we do, and to shake off that legacy image, because visually we looked very, very legacy. Our website was atrocious. I can talk more about that. So it was fixing us up to make sure that we could go toe-to-toe with our competitors, but more importantly, people that wouldn't think of buying from Software AG would do a double take and think, oh yeah, I didn't know who they were. Yeah, I think I'll go and speak to them.
So interesting. So I've heard the term become a marketing driven organization, but and this is why I brought up the culture. It's really, that's not a simple, hey, let's just turn on let's paint the color, change the color of the organization. That's a real fundamental thing. And I want to start, that's a great mandate. Let's become a marketing driven organization. Let's get the awareness that we need. Where did you start?
So the first change that our CEO Sanjay Brahmavar made was to make sure that marketing reported directly into him, and that had never happened before.
Okay.
Yeah, marketing reported into the sales organization in the past, but with my appointment, he said, "No, marketing reports into me." So it was coming from the CEO himself, and Sanjay is he gets marketing. I think he actually did a marketing degree. Maybe he should be helping me more on the marketing side of things, but he gets marketing and the power of marketing. So that was the first big change, the cultural change there. The second thing is that he is very open to new ideas. So one of the first things, and probably the most expensive, was, hey, we've got to look at our website. It just looks so bad. I'm sure some of your listeners will go back and try and figure out what the Software AG website looked like before. It was impossible to find anything. It was like the Wikipedia of everything, an encyclopedia of everything we've ever done in 50 years. So, he's been very supportive on the investments that the company needs to make to kind of really make sure we not just only catch up, but leapfrog the competition. So I think, it comes from the CEO. I really believe that.
Well, I totally agree. And it's my first book. As I say that, thinking that I will actually finish my second book sometime soon, maybe even this year. But my first book, the first chapter, is about setting expectations. And if you're not aligned with your CEO, you don't have a chance. But I think the interesting part of what you said as well is not only reporting to the CEO means you have a seat at the table, right? It means that you are influencing not just marketing, but in theory, the entire organization, because marketing touches the entire organization. Okay, so that was part one. Part two, the website. And it's amazing to me. I will go and look at companies, and I don't care how big or how small. And by the way, I did look at it on the Wayback Machine. If any of you are unfamiliar with that, type in Wayback Machine. You can look at any website from way back when. And it's a fun exercise. And it was. And these things have a way of sort of becoming Jerry built. And somebody said, hey, we need another room. And they just keep adding rooms, and there's an architectural nightmare. But rebuilding a website is not a simple task and requires not only architectural issues, but it in an ideal world it requires brand understanding. And so how do you rebuild a website when you also need to rebuild a brand?
Yeah, very true. So it's very easy with marketing to have that kind of gut feel, instinct, emotion. It can be very emotions based, which is fine. We need a little bit of emotion in marketing. So one of the first things we did was to take the emotion away. Let's get a brand audit done, right? So what do people actually think when they hear the word software AG? So we asked our customers, we asked people that were potential prospects, Gartner, Forrester, our board, our sales organization. We asked the entire field organization, and we did a very detailed audit. And the feedback actually, what it's like? It's like it held a mirror up to us, right? So you think, oh, I look great in this outfit, right? Don't I look fancy? My hair looks great, my makeup, my clothes. And then here it is, somebody holding a mirror up to you and go, actually, do you see what I see? And you're going, oh boy, that's worse than I thought. So I think that was the first thing, was like, we've got a problem, we need to fix this, right? We had some of the imagery we're using was with millennials doing handstands and things. Like, that's not the audience we're going after. We're not targeting millennials. They're never going to buy from 20-year-olds, don't buy from Software AG. So, but it was also our language is dated. We just needed to talk in a very, very different way. And Drew, it's like one of the questions I ask about brands is, if this brand walked into a bar and ordered a drink, what drink would it order, right? And I think the brand that we had at the time when I joined was like probably a still water, right? Maybe no ice, hold the ice.
No ice, yeah, hold the ice. Just
yeah,
pretty plain Jane.
Exactly. And that's not us, right? I mean, we've got great people, employees, we get great feedback from our customers, Gartner, Forrester, like I said, so everything else is positive. But we were this almost like a wallflower, right? And we had to change that. So we did the audit. We looked at changing some of the colors. We realized some of the colors were very similar to our competitors. So we had employees liking and sharing competitor ads because they were getting confused.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now let me pause you for a second, because I want to dive so Audit is a great place to start. Did you do this did you manage this internally, or did you bring in an outside firm to help?
Outside firm, yeah.
Right.
So we used a wonderful firm. They have offices in New York and London, and they have helped Apple. They've helped Stella McCartney. They've helped Google. So we used them. We thought, let's use them, and they were wonderful. So very detailed analysis.
Who was it? Because
Moving Brands. I hope they give me a discount for that, for giving them a plug.
Exactly, for the nice plug. Yes. So I do think in often doing these brand audits, it is important to bring in an outsider, because one, it doesn't hurt them as much to hear the negative. They're more likely to sort of find that. How you ask the questions obviously matters. And so someone who's done this before, it really helps. One of the things that you didn't mention in the audit, or you did, but I'm curious, how deep did you go with employees?
It was with a field organization, very deep. Yeah. What keeps you awake at night? How do you feel the brand is holding you back? Very, very deep. And, I think we had almost 90% participation from the field organization, which is phenomenal, right? Given people be on holiday, might have forgotten. There was such a strength of feeling like groundswell that, you know, we had to fix this. And I think people were happy they were consulted and part of the process to get things right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And oftentimes, if you skip that step, whatever rebranding you do, it won't take. It just won't take. So we're going to take a quick break here, but I want to sort of summarize where we are. A rebrand starts with an audit. There's just no way around it. You have to talk to all your stakeholders to get a sense of where you've been, where you are, and while you're doing that, trying to figure out how where the opportunity is. All right, we'll take a break and we'll come back to see how Paz and the team figured out where they needed to be. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And so you've done the audit, and one of the challenges with the audit is that there's a massive amount of information, and now you've got to synthesize it and simplify it. Talk a little bit about how that process worked.
Yeah. So the way I describe it is it's almost like a peloton. So if you're into Tour de France or cycling, I'm not, but I know there's probably a lot of people that are into that kind of thing. There were three threads that we had to kind of bring together in this peloton. One was a brand audit, which led the direction of everything that we had to do. One was a decision that the website, which is our shop front, right, which was doing us a disservice, had to change, and we had to change the platform, and we decided to go with Adobe on that. And then the last thing was actually the writing as well, the kind of content, the words and the pictures and the design, everything had to kind of go together in this peloton. So we took the audit. The audit said, look, it's not clear when somebody lands on your website what you do. So boom, we knew exactly the homepage had to change. Now we have made many, acquisitions over the years, and, we've just kind of, I guess, could have done a much better job of like kind of categorizing what those acquisitions are adding. They all add value. We've got lots of customers that are happy, but if you're a new person coming to the site, you're like, I don't know what they do. Right. So we had to be very clear. And on the homepage, we are an enterprise integration and IoT platform primarily. And what that means is that a lot of the stuff that you do, you can't see it. When you've booked your flight, when people will fly again, a lot of the airlines use our integration technology. If you're ordering your coffee on an app, Software AG is behind that, right? Wind farms that you see, Software AG is behind that. Animal conservation, there's so much that we do in the background, and you can't see and touch what we do. And that's where this whole living connections red thread came from. That was the kind of the messaging that united everything we do, because, we decided that our essential role in the world was the pulse that keeps the world living and thriving, right? If you've ordered your coffee and it's not sitting there waiting for you with Drew scribbled on it, right? Or badly spelt, as they often do, things are going wrong. So things just work. We're in the background. It's just that you don't know it's us in the background, right? So that's how we came up with Living Connections. That was the kind of thread, and everything fell into place. We simplified the homepage, how people find us, and we focus on customer journeys. At the end of the day, we wanted to make it as simple as possible for somebody to find what they were looking for on our site, rather than this mass encyclopedia of absolutely everything we've done over 50 years.
So let's go. Living Connections. First of all, 2 words, which is great. It's interesting because, there are these 2 words, sort of living connections and so forth. Did you see that language as purposeful? In other words, and talk a little bit first of all, how did you get to those 2 words? What was that process like?
Yeah, well, I think it's the agency, and this is why I really recommend, if you're doing anything like this, to strip the emotion away, to get an outside in view, get an agency to help you, right? And they did lots of brainstorming. They said, look, you don't want to call yourselves like the next digital transformation, blah, blah. It's like everyone sounds the same, right? It's just so dull. They said, but what you do, the things that you allow, the fact that you were, you began your journey in 1969 when, technology helped put a man on the moon, that you've been here a while, that you're trusted, you're independent. We do a lot of stuff with sustainability. We help a lot of companies with that. The whole living thing just feels more alive. And for a 50-year-old brand, it just feels like a little bit of a little sparkle, right? And the connections is like, things, the stuff you do does connect things together. Your coffee is waiting for you because you've got the app, and there's a integration technology underneath that makes that happen. So they came up with this living connections, and everybody loved it. And we ran it past analysts that we work with. They're like, yes, we love it. That just brings you up to date with where you need to be. And I know it's easy sometimes to throw away the baby with the bathwater when you've got an established brand. Everybody wants to work for cool, trendy brands. I get that, right? But there's something to be said for a company that's 50 years old and still around and still growing and attracting. And 50's young. I mean, 50's young, Drew, come on.
Yeah, don't have to pitch me on that. Let's go. So I think it's interesting. So the agency comes to you. You all say, this sounds interesting. You start to sort of shop it internally and externally with analysts at least. And I think that's an interesting checkpoint that a lot of brands don't do, but it totally makes sense. At what point, so you have this language, right, as a description. At what point do you sort of say, okay, let's go with this? And what was the confirmation that you needed to make it go?
Yeah. So the confirmation was, so as with all these big changes, and remember, this company has not changed, right? No fault of its own. It was doing fine, but it needed to shake itself up. So, I just got internal alignment with the board, with the executive leadership team. They were like, brilliant, let's do this. We actually checked it with a few customers. What do you think? We're going to be changing our color palette. Things are going to be a little bit more vibrant. The imagery is going to change. You're going to see swirls, right? These little kind of, I call them churros, these swirly churros. That's all about living connections, the fluid flow of data. And the feedback from the customers was great. Like, yeah, we love this. This is like, we're really proud that we're customers of yours. So, and then we thought, boom, right? And then the next point is to educate, 5,000 employees on why we're doing this, why these colors. And I'm not going to lie to you. Some people didn't like the colors. It's like, I don't like purple. Well, you may not like purple. That's okay. But our current color is the same color as most of our competitors, and we're getting lost. So we have to find a new color palette that's going to make us stand out. And Drew, the thing is, when we launched the website, when we changed all of our kind of visual identity on social media, on LinkedIn, there was a time over 2 months where we were adding 1,000 new followers on LinkedIn a week. That's phenomenal. For a 50-year-old brand, people are going, who the hell are these guys? Is that Software AG? When somebody does a double take, like, what did you do to yourself? So people were starting to notice us, and that for us started to translate into more leads, more marketing qualified leads, with all the other changes we made as well. So for me, I think we've done all of the right things that we could do to kind of modernize this brand.
So let's talk about it. From the beginning of the audit to let's just call it the employee launch, because we've already done all the confirmation. How long was that?
Oh boy. So the other complexity, let me throw this in the mix and then I'll answer your question, right, was that Software AG also had lots of disparate sites as well. So we had the main site, we'd made acquisitions, some of them had kept their own sites, some products had several sites, several websites, because one's not enough. So we had to bring 15 disparate websites onto the new platform, Adobe, bearing in mind, brand new platform. This is like going from a kind of a cheap old banger to now like a state-of-the-art sports car, right? Which has lots of digital readouts and things. So we went from that to that, 15 disparate sites. The audit was waiting for us. So the audit had been done a while ago. And what we were smart was we connected Adobe with the agency and said, so everybody worked together. Nothing was done in isolation. Everything was done together. So we started, the audit was done when was it done? Oh, let me think, about May time in 2019. And then the website was launched May this year, actually, May the 15th.
So almost a year.
Almost a year.
And while you were, the audit, and then in between that, how long did you spend sort of educating employees about the meaning of this new positioning?
Probably not enough. And we're still educating. I think we could have done a better job. I think I was so focused on the external stuff. It was like, yeah, let's get that done. So just on the audit, the whole thing of selecting Adobe and things like that started in around the May time. So the audit took a couple of months, and then you sit down, they tell you, this is what we see, and you're like, oh really? And then it takes a few weeks to kind of digest what they're telling you. You know, you thought you looked great in the outfit, actually you look worse than you thought. So and then selling that internally, actually it's worse than we think. So I think because of that, yeah, it took about a year with all the other moving parts that we had. But I think that my advice to anybody, and if I could live my life again and do this again, is like, bring the employees on the journey with you. Because I think my mistake was when we showed the new color palette, most people are like, yeah, cool. But some people are like, I don't like that kind of fluorescent yellow. Like, why that color? It doesn't work on certain backgrounds. So I think, you know, I could have done a much better job there internally.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I will say that from our experience with these, and also from the interviews, that employees are often the step. And we did some research among 200 CMOs interviewed, actually both last year and this year. All agree, 95% agree that marketing to employees is really important when you're launching a new campaign. But then when you say, how long did you spend doing it? The answer is less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you know, you say, wait a second, it's really important. But and so what that says to me, when I hear only 2 or 3 weeks, what it really means is, this is a new thing we're doing. It's not going to change how you do business. So just go off. Yeah, it's a new color and it's new language, but don't worry about it. And I contrast that with, I had I think it was David Edelman of Aetna, when they rebranded. They spent 6 months retraining employees to be aligned with the new positioning. There's the difference, right? So, you know, it's interesting as far as getting employees all on board on the color. That's a tricky one. I mean, I think it's all about getting them on board on the new idea and the vision for the company. But
Yeah.
either way, it takes time. And you know, the point is, it's helpful to bring them back. And I guess what I hear you saying is, if you would set the problem up a little better, if they had seen we look the same as everybody else, then the solution would have been less, oh yeah, we no longer do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. I think, you know, big lesson learned. And so what we've done, and what we're going to start doing, is even now, you know, we still need to help educate people, is doing a series of explainer videos, or, hey, like, why we decided to do this and why this color palette. So we're going to do these short little videos just to make sure people understand and see the full picture. And we've, you know, got a fantastic new brand portal. So again, everyone gets it now. It's like, oh, I get why it's like that, you know. So I think all of those things just help make them feel part of the process, because it's easy for marketing. You know, it's like new CMOs. It's like, let's go do this, and
Right.
you forget about the people that are your biggest champions, which are your employees. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's, if we think about our target audience as employees, customers, and prospects in that order, you're really going to be in a strong place. All right, we're going to take
Yeah.
a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the results and any other lessons learned. So stay with us. Okay, we're back. And so you got the lesson learned about a little more time with the employees. Let's cut to the chase for a moment. You've launched this thing in May. How's it gone? What have been the sort of positive signs that this rebrand has worked?
Oh, well, like I said to you earlier, you know, there was a point where we were getting like a thousand, you know, net new followers on LinkedIn a week. I mean, that's incredible, right?
Right.
So I think I've been here 21 months. I think it was like 67,000 followers on LinkedIn. You know, we crossed the 100,000 mark, you know, about a month ago, which is phenomenal. So that pace was incredible. People were doing a double take. Other thing was the engagement on that. So you can add loads of people. Anyone can add people, right? You can buy people. But what we were doing was the engagement, right, on some of the assets, because we started doing more animations, more fun things, a little bit of a personality. If we walk into a bar now, we're going to order a sensible but a nice cocktail, not something crazy with pineapples and umbrellas in it. But this is a brand now that fits our age and our kind of our stature. So there was more engagement, more likes, more comments, people commenting more on things as well. So that was one of the first external indicators we thought. Feedback from the employees once they got it was like, I just get it now. I really, really get it. The website is performing very, very strongly. We had to bring it forward by a month, Drew, because of COVID, because our external events were being cancelled. All these big trade shows that we typically rely on for pipeline were being cancelled one after the other, domino effect. And I was like, oh boy, I think we're gonna have to bring that website forward by months. Again, my team just knocked it out of the park. Adobe were fantastic. They were like, you do realize what you're doing, but we understand, brought it forward by a whole month. We're seeing better engagement on mobile users, up by 400%, which is, in the same time frame the year before. More people hanging around, sessions are improving. All the metrics going in the right direction. So it tells me, given that we've only launched a few months ago, we're doing really, really well. We just need to build on that now and just check whether the journeys are working, that we're converting. But the other stat is also the number of leads are increasing. We had to switch really to digital. So the website became a critical launch pad for everything we did. Marketing qualified leads, all the key metrics, everything was up. So I was like, boom, we've done it. So, but again, could we have done things better? We bit off a lot, more than you can chew, trying to, like Adobe said, this is intense, like 50 disparate websites onto one. And this site, it was a lot. And I put a lot of pressure on Adobe. They've been a brilliant partner. My own team, the content, we had to change the content, rewrite everything. And we were guided a lot by our growth marketing team and digital marketing, because it was no longer about just creating the same encyclopedia of content. It was right, what should the page have? How do we optimize SEO? Everything was about optimizing and making life easier for people that find us, wherever they've come from, whatever that's got their attention and got them excited. It's all about reducing the number of clicks. And so I feel like we've done a lot, but there's more to do, right? We're going to just keep evolving. But one thing is for sure, this is not going to end up being like some messy teenager's bedroom where you've got like old content there, the socks that have been under the bed for like, a month. It's like, no, old content out, new content in. And, we've now implemented Adobe Analytics. We're going to be adding Target. So again, we're going to keep fine tuning this like Ferrari that we have now, because we don't have an old banger anymore. This is a Ferrari. So yeah, big changes. And it's such an exciting time.
I'm going to have to get Ann Lunas, who was on the show of Adobe, to sort of sponsor this episode. I'm fairly certain. But that's cool to hear. All of those metrics sound good. There's always a risk when you launch a new website that your SEO will tank because people were looking for that. But actually, I don't even. That's in the weeds. I want to stay big. You are about to launch a new website. You're doing all this work, and then COVID strikes. Was there a moment where because you already, by COVID, I'm imagining you already had the living connections idea in your mind. You already knew you were going to do it, and COVID strikes. Was there a moment where you said, is this still relevant?
Never, no. And I can understand where the question is coming from. No, we thought, if anything, we needed to have more of that language than ever before, because it still is the kind of values of who we are. A lot of the stuff, like I said, behind the scenes, what we stand for. So no, that did not seem irrelevant at all. All of it was ready to go. It was a case of, when you've got just think of it as a book, right? So you've got a book, blank pages. So the Adobe platform was the book with the blank pages, and what we had was the storyline with living connections. The audit helped us define the main characters, what products we should be focusing on, so people got what we did. My team had more structure in terms of use these kind of like images, and then my product marketing organization again worked to get the words right. So what happened was we had the book. It's just COVID made us get the book written quickly, right, faster, with the words and the pictures and everything and the storyline. So it's been phenomenal, but I think we did bite off a lot more than we could chew. But we did it. We pulled it off, right? I think when you're driven, when you really need something done, and I think COVID like really forced our arm. It was like, right, what are you going to do? These big pipeline generating events are being cancelled one after the other. we had to just not, we had to mitigate that pipeline risk, because there's nothing worse than coming in as a CMO, making the, shiny new website, but the pipeline's tanking, right?
Right.
You got to almost do that and make sure the pipeline's not tanking, and you're building for next year. So yeah, we juggled quite a few big things at one time.
It's interesting. So this is, when COVID struck, it took us all sort of a second to figure out, okay, what's happening? What's the ripple effect? And the ripple effect was the economies in many countries or global countries were suddenly, you had business continuity issues first, and now we're looking at economic hardship. And as companies they found themselves in one of two camps. You were either essential business, right, where you were in the security, or you were in the keep the operations of the company going. You were, you're Zoom and you're a cloud-based in the cloud-based economy, or you're everybody else. And so the tweaks that a lot of companies made to their website post-COVID was to figure out how they either A, could position themselves as essential business, or B, find a way to give something away so that they could harvest some, plant some seeds now to monetize in 2021. Where did you find yourself in this continuum between essential and what I call the CF no? The CFO no right now, CF no is saying, if this doesn't generate revenue tomorrow or save me money on a substantial level, you don't get it. And I don't care whether it's marketing automation or, whatever. Where did you find yourselves in that sort of perspective?
It's a brilliant question. So our CEO, we called it business as unusual, right? So what we wanted to make sure was that our customers, our existing paying customers, were fine. Like absolutely, sales team on the phone to everyone, are you okay? What can we do to help? It wasn't like, hey, when's that order going to come? It's like, what can I do to help you? Are you okay? So that was the first thing. We then realized that there are people that maybe never heard of us that may be interested in some kind of free solutions that we have. And again, it's not about monetizing it for us. We do a lot of stuff in communities. We give a lot of our software away for free. We do a lot of work with universities as well. Part of our business is owned by the Software AG Foundation. So our founder has created this foundation. We do a lot of work in the US and in Germany and other markets too. So there is that kind of genuine, not just cheap talk, genuine giving back to community. And, our CEO just picked up on that and said, right, let's think about how we can help people. Could be changing processes, in which case we looked at, one of our products, how that could be, we could promote that, or IoT, Internet of Things, like for remote monitoring, you can't go into a building, but you can use it. And so we had a heap of offerings, say heap, actually it was a handful, really, more than a heap, but they were carefully thought through. And for us, it wasn't about monetizing. It was about how can we, given our foundation, our background, genuinely help. So, but I've seen loads of these, everybody jumped on the bandwagon, free this, free that, with the ultimate aim to monetize. But I'm so proud to say that I work at a company that doesn't feel like that it doesn't feel it has to do that because of the foundation.
Interesting. Okay. So, as we look back on this program, and I love the fact that you've been so honest about some of the things the painful lessons learned. Let's go through those and try to summarize. If you were to start again on this program, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
Get the entire organization involved, like the employees. I think it's easier to sell say, look, this is what the brand audit says, this is what we're going to do and why, so that you don't get surprised at the end when people might think, I don't like this. So I think that was my big learning for sure.
Right. Okay. All right. And in terms of next steps and things that you're looking forward to do, what's on the horizon for you?
The big thing now is, we've got this Ferrari, the Adobe Ferrari, and for us, it's fine tuning that engine, right? This is like revving. We're doing laps, which is great, but we're going to start accelerating those laps so that everything is pivotal. This system, we're building everything on this, absolutely everything. So we've just moved the blog across, which is wonderful. So that improves the whole SEO thing. That is the focus, and also a lot of MarTech. There'll be a big investments in marketing technology as well.
Got it. Okay. All right. So how, I think this is my last question. Your goal was to turn this into a marketing driven organization. And in the process, build awareness for the company, and in that process, drive leads. How close are you to becoming a marketing-driven organization?
I think we're getting there. So I think we're 80% of the way there, right? Because nothing is ever done, right? We're 80% of the way there. My team who are not used to this pace and energy and new stuff have been great. They're like, let's do it. Roll our sleeves up. Let's go with it. I think the 20% now is like fine tuning the engine. I think we did a lot of the heavy lifting the first 2 years. Now it's really fine tuning things and being really data driven. Like that, everything is about being data driven. And if you will hear me saying, if it's not in Salesforce, I'm sorry, it doesn't exist, right? That I'm going to get a t-shirt made with that. I'll send you a t-shirt, Drew. If it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. So it's all about being data driven now and continuing to fine tune the engine.
Awesome. Okay. As I think about this program and what you've done, and now it's, 18, 19 months since you started, it's a big deal. And I want to sort of emphasize, if you're thinking about a brand transformation where, and this is both inside and outside, and one of your lessons learned of involving employees all the way through is critical. Why is it so critical? It's critical because these folks are the brand ambassadors. If they don't believe it, if they don't feel it in their heart that they're working for a company that somehow has changed in a meaningful way, it's like, yeah, that's just marketing. Yeah, that's just brand. That doesn't really affect my daily life. So you really getting employees involved in this process from the get-go. It's also for the CMO, this is a really important part of thinking about your job. If you have 3 constituents, employees, customers, and prospects, and you nail it with employees, chances are you're going to be more successful with those others. If you ignore employees, you probably won't succeed as well. All right, that's enough for me on my pulpit. Paz, thank you so much for being on the show.
I loved it, every moment of it. Thank you for having me, Drew.
Renegade Thinkers Unite is written and directed by Drew Neisser. Hey, that's me. Audio production by Sam Beck. Show notes are written by Melissa Caffrey. The music is by the amazing Burns Twins, and the intro voiceover is now by Linda Cornelius. To find the transcripts of all episodes, suggest future guests, and learn more about quite possibly the best B2B marketing agency in NYC, visit renegade.com. And until next time, keep those renegade thinking caps on and strong.